"Stop!" cried Meena. "Go back." But there was so much going on that no one heard her speak. Now here, now Meena is irritated because so many wild animals, so many characters, fairies, princesses, they have all, you can say that, arrived when she was trying to rescue her cat Max, and when she fell from that pile of books, that those books, they all were falling, and they were, as they were falling up, and there, you can say the different books, different fairy tale stories, they were also opening up, means they were opened, and the characters were falling from those books. So now she is irritated and she cried, "Stop!" she cried, and then she said, "Go back." Now this means, but there was so much going back on that no one heard her speak. That means that there was so much of noise because of all these animals and characters. There was so much of noise in the room that no one heard her saying these words to them, "Go back." Now she grabbed the nearest rabbit. Now that rabbit which was nearest to her, she grabbed that rabbit and tried to stuff him into a cookbook. Okay, into a cookbook, a recipe book, maybe a cookbook, a different book. She was trying to stuff her, means she was trying to put her back in the book, but that scared him so much. Okay, that scared him so much that he wriggled means that adjusting. If you have seen any animal that adjusts, mostly cats, if you see that cat, if the cat is scared and there is no way to escape, and there is a door opened, a small door, it is opened, the cat will wriggle means twisted and turned with quick movements, means adjusting yourself, adjusting that rabbit, that adjusted in a small escape out of Meena's hand and ran away. And it ran away. Why? Because that rabbit was not the part of that book. Rabbit was a part of different book, so he was scared. She was trying to stuff him in the cookbook, in the recipe book, and he got scared and he wriggled out of Meena's hand, adjusted himself, twisted, turned himself, and then he ran away. It ran away. She opened another book and 4 ducks flew out. Now she opened another book she opened, and from there 4 ducks, they flew out. She slammed it. Slammed means closing the book with force. When you slam it, slamming it, okay, so she slammed it and shut again, means she closed the book with force. She closed it with force because she was irritated. "This won't work." Now who is saying? Meena is saying, "This won't work. I don't know who goes in which book." Now she is saying, "I don't know who goes in which book." Now which character, which animal will go in which book? Why? Because she was not, as you know, that she was not interested in reading book. She thought for a minute. Now she was thinking for a minute. थोड़ा सोचने लगी. She was thinking for a minute. "I know." Now she is saying, "I know." She said, "I'll go to everyone and ask them where they belong." Now she is saying that I have an idea. I will go to every animal, every character, that which book do you belong, and then I'll put them back in that book. She started with one strange creature she didn't recognize at all. Now there was one strange creature she didn't recognize because she never read a book. "Who are you?" she asked. "Who are you?" "A is for aardvark," the animal said angrily. The animal said very angrily. He was very irritated. He said that A is for aardvark, and marched off in search of her alphabet book. Now he is from this. It is being revealed that he was from a alphabet book, maybe from that book which her parents bought when she was small. A is for aardvark. The animal said angrily and marched off in search of her alphabet book. When she had another idea. Now she has another idea. She picked up the nearest book and began to read aloud. Now she picked up the nearest book and began to read aloud. "Once upon a time," now she is reading. "Once upon a time," Meena began. Now she is reading. She has started reading. "Once upon a time in a land far, far away." And then what happened when she was reading? When she started reading, all the creatures, they stopped jumping and chattering, and they stopped making noise, and then they came closer to her, and they started hearing what happened next. And soon they sat in a circle around her, listening her reading. When you if you have must have seen that children sometimes is circle around the person who is telling the story. So just like that, Meena, she was sitting, she started reading. Once upon a time, in a land far far away, and the creatures, they stopped jumping and chattering. They came closer and closer to hear what happened next. And soon they were all sitting in a circle around her, listening to her. Okay, so they all were sitting around her, listening to her. Now there was complete silence in the room. When Meena reached the top of the second page, now she was reading, and when she turned the second page, and when she reached the top of the second page, the cats in the circle jumped up. Now cats were there, they in the circle, they jumped up. That's us, they said. They cried, that's us, that's our page. That means they were saying that, okay, here we have come, through which we can go our home back in the book. Now this is the page where our character is there. So they were saying that that's us. They cried, that's our page, that's our book. Then they shouted, they said, that's our book. They leapt up out of the circle. They jumped out of the circle. Leapt means they jumped out of the circle, jumped into her lap, and disappeared into the book. And then they disappeared into the book. Meena clapped it shut before they could pop out again. Now what happened? When she was reading, when she turned the second page, the two cats, they were saying that that's our page. Now this is our book. Now we have found our way to go to home. So they jumped onto her lap and then disappeared in the book. And Meena immediately she closed the book so that again they would not come up. She grabbed another story. One by one she began reading all her books. Now one by one, those books which were fallen, she started to read all her books, and one by one the creatures found out where they belonged. Now this plan worked. Now Meena was also looking, that she realized that this plan is working. Now she said that again, like one by one I will start reading the book, and all these characters, all these animals, fairies, princesses, emperors, monkeys, and the elephants, they will all go back one by one to whichever book they belong. At last, now gradually all the animals, they have went back to their own this home in whichever book they were from. So one last creature was left. That was a little rabbit in little blue coat. Now at last there was just one little rabbit in a little blue coat left in the room. Meena slowly picked up a book. It was a tale of Peter Rabbit. So that was sure that that rabbit belonged to that book. Now coming to the next page, maybe I could keep this rabbit with me. Now she thought that maybe I could keep this rabbit with me as a pet. She was beginning to feel lonely now that everyone else was gone. Now she was alone in the room. Now everyone else were gone except her pet cat Max and that small rabbit. But the little rabbit stood in front of her, shifting nervously. Why nervously? Because he was scared. That all has gone and now I am left. Now what she will do with me? From foot to foot and twitching his nose, he was anxious to get back home. Now he was scared and he was anxious that I want to go home. So he was nervous also, he was scared also, so he was anxious, he was worried, he wanted to go back home. So with a big sigh, what is sigh? Sigh is a long breath. Sigh is a long breath. जो आप जोर से सांस लेते हैं, that is a long breath, sigh. So Meena opened the last book. The rabbit hopped in and with a flash of his white cotton tail, he was gone. Now when she opened the last book, the rabbit hopped on her lap and then in the book, and then with a flash of his white cotton tail, he was gone. Now he was also disappeared. So he also went back to that last book. The house was quiet. Why? Because now all the characters, all the animals, all the people were gone. Those who fell out of the book, they were all gone. So the house was quiet, and who was there? Only Max. Max the cat was there. He sat on the same books washing his face. Max sat on some books washing his face. Washing his face here does not mean that he was washing his face. No, the cat sometimes lick their own paw, and then they sometimes lick their own forepaws. That is washing his face. Meena sighed. Now Meena sighed. She had a sigh of relief. उसने जोर से एक लंबी सांस आहें भरते हैं जैसे. Meena sighed, and then she, what did she say? I'll never see those rabbits again, she said. I will never see those rabbits again. Then she noticed that the books were still there, lying around her. She started to smile. Okay, then now she started to smile, and when her parents came in that afternoon, they couldn't believe their eyes. Why? Couldn't believe their eyes means they were not able to believe it. They were not able to believe it, that whatever they are seeing, is this a real or just dream? So they couldn't believe their eyes. Why? Because that girl who hated to read books was now reading one by one each and every book. Now she was reading, not because the curtains were gone and the dishes were broken and the table legs were chewed up, but because there sitting in the middle of the room was Meena, and she was reading books. Now earlier, before starting this lesson, this the first part of the lesson said that this Meena she hated books, she never liked reading. Now in the end, how she started reading the books, this has been explained in this lesson. Now the parents, they in the last part of the lesson, they are not able to believe that Meena is now the girl who is now interested in reading. Thank you so much.